Hey guys, we are here with the final session. We have Zach Burks, who's the co-founder of Mintable. You must have, heard about Mintable in all the slides with Zilliqa that was being shown. He's going to be sharing his experience about, from how, Mintable got lifted and, how things started off with Zilliqa. So for all you guys who are looking at developing on Zilliqa or planning to start there, this will be very useful to learn from experience. And he's coming in from California, so it must be very early morning for him. So it's all or a very late night. So do give it to him and listen to his experience. Over to you, Zach. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So, Mintable is an NFT platform, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have already heard of NFTs. I know the panel was talking a little bit about them before, and you probably have seen them on Twitter as well. But really quick, an NFT, as we discussed in the panel, is this non-fungible token. Really got popular with CryptoKitties, which is a game where you kind of breed these cats. But these cats were on the blockchain, and they were tokens that you can have in your wallet, right? So Mintable is an NFT platform that allows for anyone to be able to mint or manage or create these NFTs and then sell them to tokenize, their content. One of the things that Mintable has done since the beginning, we launched in 2018 for Ethereum, and then we just launched our 2.0 on Zilliqa here about 2 months ago. And one of the things we've done since the beginning is provide a easy user interface so that you don't have to worry about making a smart contract. You don't need to worry about how your code is going to interact or anything. All you need to worry about is what you're going to put on your NFT, the content that you want to tokenize. So with NFTs, I mentioned CryptoKitties, and I briefly said art. You can. There's a lot of possibilities of what you can do with an NFT. I believe in the panel they were also talking about insurance. There's a Nexus Mutual which has NFTs that are basically an insurance option that has all the information on the token itself about the insurance, and then that can be used to claim or verify proof of owning that insurance policy. So there's a lot of options of what people can make as an NFT, and it's almost limitless. Real quick, we've seen things like real estate, so a deed for a house showing you're the owner of this property. We've seen fractional ownerships of things like real world assets. So if you look at something like a car, a building, insurance policies, you can tokenize this, and it provides this new mechanism of interoperability where you can interact with it on different applications, or a new means of incentivization, so that your users or your followers will be able to have some sort of interaction with you that they can't have on a traditional application. So NFTs are really cool, and they have a lot of possibility. And I can talk about NFTs for days. I love NFTs, and so with Zilliqa, when we met Zilliqa and brought onto them, they knew what NFTs were, but they didn't have anything for an infrastructure of NFTs on their blockchain. They didn't have an application like Mintable to be able to sell NFTs. They didn't have a way for people to make NFTs unless they made the smart contracts themselves. So we started working with them, and we ended up making Mintable for Zilliqa, which is a marketplace that you can first make your NFTs on. You don't have to worry about coding, and then you can buy and sell other NFTs. So there's these domain names from Unstoppable Domain that originally launched on Zilliqa, and so they're NFTs that are domain names that you can own, and they act as a like a router for payments. So if I have a domain name, say Zach.zil, you can send almost any kind of crypto, Bitcoin, Zilliqa, Ethereum, to that domain name, and then it will be routed over to my wallet, which is really, really exciting. And so when Mintable launched on Zilliqa, we provided this ecosystem and allowed for this exchanging of NFTs on the Zilliqa blockchain, which is really exciting. And NFTs are getting kind of hot right now, and so having this infrastructure is really important. So one of the things about this conference is, DeFi and how NFTs and DeFi kind of work together. And that's complicated to say the least, right? Because with NFTs, the potential is so limitless that DeFi can be interacting with NFTs in so many different ways. One of the some of the examples that we've seen already are things like Avogaches is a Ethereum project that allows for you to stake collateral within an NFT, right? There's other projects as well that utilize NFTs in the form of rewards. So you provide normal DeFi mechanisms like with your LP tokens that you have from Uniswap, and then you can convert those over to NFTs that you can then sell because they're artwork. So overall with DeFi, there's a huge potential to interact with NFTs, but at the same time, there's also a few problems. With NFTs, there's not a liquid market. And that's something that most people don't recognize because these tokens are non-fungible. When you have something like a very valuable NFT that's worth maybe $10,000 or $100,000, there isn't an order book like there is on like an exchange to be able to just place an order and sell it. It actually works in another manner, very similar to like a baseball card or a Pokemon card or a house. If you want to sell your house, you have to wait for a buyer to enter negotiations with you, accept your offer or bid, and then the transaction occurs. So that's what is essentially an illiquid market. You can't just go and place an order and it's instantly sold to an order book. So when you provide DeFi into this mix of NFTs, you run into this problem like first and foremost, which is if you want to have some sort of yield farming, some sort of interest-bearing rates that are tied to an NFT, how is the user going to then be able to sell that NFT, right? Now they can use a marketplace like Mintable and they can place their NFT for sale, but if there's no interested buyer, or maybe their NFT is rare in the sense of it's not a common term and they don't find it in the marketplace, because there's hundreds of thousands of NFTs, and so when you list your NFT for sale, you run into that problem of discovery. How are they going to discover and find your item? Mintable, we do a few things different in that regards. We allow, for some advantages that sellers can have on our platform so they can advertise and promote their listings. Just, normal stuff that you would see on any other e-commerce marketplace where a seller would be able to promote their items and have their storefront. And so some marketplaces, well, actually none of them provide that except for Mintable, which is a little weird. But I'm sure as the NFT space grows, that will become common practice. I'd actually like to show off my screen and see if I can kind of go through a little bit of what we've got on Zilliqa, and then I'll talk about how Zilliqa helped us, build our startup and move into their blockchain into a new direction for us. So hopefully you should be able to see my screen right here. This is my profile on Mintable. So if you wanted to check out Mintable yourself, you could do so at zilliqa.mintable.app. And like I mentioned, we're a marketplace for non-fungible tokens. So these are some stores that people have. These are some some artwork and some NFTs that people are selling, and it's a very simple and easy process to tokenize something that lives on the blockchain. Using the Zilliqa blockchain, it's like super fast, and the transaction fees are very low. So we also have an Ethereum version of our app, and to do what I'm about to do on Ethereum costs about $75 US. But to do it on Zilliqa, it costs about 5 to 10 cents USD. So if I wanted to say, create a store, when I create my store, I'm actually deploying a smart contract on the blockchain. But you notice here, there's no code, right? You don't have to worry about that. That's the whole point of Mintable, is to make it easy interface for you to be able to deploy and interact with your NFTs. So if I wanted to create a store for, say, blockchain India, right? Blockchain India event, and maybe I'm going to have some artwork on here, artwork from the conference, right? I go through and I can fill all this information out, and I can put in my tags, and I can upload a photo from my store, put in my description, and I'm not going to go fill everything out all the way just because it's going to, take so long. So what I'll do is I'll upload this GIF as a cover photo. I'm just quickly showing you the process of how simple it is. When you click next, you're going to confirm that everything looks good. Yeah, it looks good to me. And then you're going to proceed, right? And you're just going to be submitting, your transaction using Zilliqa, which is their, version of MetaMask for Zilliqa. And, that's about it, right? You'll go through and you'll submit this transaction, and your store gets created. So, and I'm not going to do that right here, but I just wanted to show the process overall. And I actually don't want to have to type in my password, but I will. So that would be creating a store. And then once you create your store, you have to be able to manage this NFT, mint more NFTs, and then sell those NFTs. And that's kind of what our profile allows for you to do. It's this whole functionality of everything you need within an NFT and interaction with the NFT right here in your profile, which is really useful. And not a lot of platforms even offer this either. In fact, there's only one on Ethereum, and for Zilliqa, we're unfortunately the only place to be able to do this. But as time goes on, the NFT ecosystem will grow, and there will be a lot more platforms that are going to be offering this, competitors, if you want to say, and then more wallets that are going to support NFTs. Show off some of my NFTs. Let's see what I have in my wallet here. I may not have any. Is I need to save my address in here. And now let's go see if I have any NFTs in my wallet. I do not. They're all for sale. So if I go and look at my listings, you can see I have some NFTs for sale, right? And this is actually a really unique way for content creators to make money. We have a lot of people since we've launched that have made hundreds of dollars selling their NFTs, right? And we've only been live for about 2 months. And so having multiple different users making hundreds of dollars, you could potentially have a good side income from selling NFTs. And on, I'm sure you've heard of like the NFTs that have sold for like 55,000 US dollars. It's a very lucrative market if you have a following and if you have some sort of, influential group that you can display your artwork to or your content. You can make a lot of money doing so. And so you can see I have this this nebula on canvas, which I actually really like. It's a painting. It's a digital painting, and I've only made 5 of them, which is what provides this, source of value to the NFTs, knowing that there's only going to be 5 of these ever. And as soon as you buy this, you can then go and resell it. And when you resell it, right here it's $79. You resell it maybe $150, right? And you can double your money as people trade these assets. One of the things that I'm showing here is artwork, but there is no limit to what you want to tokenize. You can tokenize any kind of file that is on your computer. So if it's a song or a video, you can tokenize that. If it's a PDF, you can tokenize it. For the developers out there, if you make like a widget or if you have some code that you wanted to sell, you would be able to turn that into an NFT, and then you can sell the NFT, which provides access to that file. So potentially, if you made an app, you can sell the code for that app, knowing that the only person that would be able to access that is whoever actually bought it. And then once they have purchased your NFT, they could then resell that as well to another person for even more money. But maybe you don't want to sell your NFT. Maybe you sold your code, your app, and you don't want them to resell it, right? Well, that's very easy. When you make a listing, you have the option to say if the person who bought this can resell it. And you also have the option to transfer the copyright so that you can say you have commercial usage of this content. If you want to post it on your website, or if you want to use my app or whatever content you're uploading, you can control the flexibility there. So there's a lot of different use cases for NFTs, as you can see, right? Like selling artwork to selling a full-fledged app. There's a lot of different things that you can do, and it really depends on you as a content creator. With NFTs, there's also interoperability. So any application that is built can use these NFTs within their application. And this is where like the DeFi aspect comes in. If I have this Nebula on a canvas NFT and I am selling it, but I've also included, say, I've staked some tokens into this, another application can come in, either purchase it using the smart contracts through another application, or they can build on top of this NFT and say, hey, if you have this NFT in our game, let's say it's a game, we will give you 5,000 gold because there's so much tokens staked on that contract, right? So the interoperability comes in with DeFi and allows for these Legos essentially to be able to be built on different applications. And this is kind of what started DeFi in the very beginning, was the ability for people to build contracts that interact with Uniswap. And because they were able to do that, then they can take the liquidity tokens, they can provide interest rates. Same with MakerDAO, right? Because MakerDAO was a smart contract that you can build another smart contract to interact with. It allowed, that was at the very first layer of DeFi to be built out. And it's the same for NFTs. And so building DeFi into NFTs eventually is going to happen. It's going to be very popular. As NFTs are going to be very popular, and you know, if you look at a graph of NFTs, you know, it's just been skyrocketing. This year alone, you know, actually this month alone, there's been over $10 million of NFT volume of transactions purchasing and selling NFTs. Whereas like last year, it was, you know, maybe 500,000 to 1 million for 1 month. So it's exponentially growing. And over the year, just the year of 2020, we've done over, you know, $150 million in NFT volume. And so it's very early, but the rate at which it's growing is very fast. And so it's the same for DeFi. With DeFi, when it started, you know, roughly about 2 years ago, when about MakerDAO started, when Uniswap got launched in the first version, it was very low numbers. And then now, of course, it's huge, right? We've seen billions of dollars locked into it. So, and that's a little bit about, you know, Mintable and what we're doing. I just wanted to show off the platform a bit. Zilliqa was a huge help in building this, obviously, right? Because I'm an Ethereum developer, and when I started talking to Zilliqa, I've never done anything on Zilliqa. But the team, the documentation, the code, all of it was really helpful. So if I had any questions, I would reach out to the team. They were able to help you out, you know, talk to you about it. The code base in and of itself, when you're writing you know, a smart contract with Zilliqa, it's not hard by any means. It's different. It's not the same as JavaScript because it's similar to OCaml, which is, you know, a functional language, as you know, we just saw the discussion go on earlier. But it makes a lot of sense when you develop a smart contract using a functional language, because it's very explicit in what can and cannot happen, which is how a smart contract should be, you know, designed, due to, you know, risk of you know, bugs or hacks. So when you work with the functional language, it's really not hard to pick up. I had no experience with functional languages, and then I started working on, you know, my skill smart contracts, and within I'd say about a month, I wrote a DEX. I wrote NFT contracts. So I had a very good grasp of the foundation of what you needed. And a lot of that is because their documentation is really helpful, right? Their team is very helpful. And then, like I said, the languages, it makes a lot of sense. So when you work with Zilliqa, you have a few advantages that, you know, you don't have on other blockchains. So for example, on Ethereum, we have really high gas fees right now. Well, today has been really good. But in the past month, we've had extremely high gas fees, especially when Uniswap had their token, right? We saw all-time highs in gas fees. And what that means is that we have no users using Mintable on Ethereum, because it would cost $500 US to make a smart contract, which is just absurd, right? And no one wants to pay that. And so there's disadvantages that just you don't have on Zilliqa, right? Because the way that Zilliqa is designed, not only is it fast, but it's cheap. So not only is it fast and cheap, but it's secure, right? And that's a big thing, right? Like you can go to EOS, but the security is lacking. And so, you know, with Zilliqa, there's not very many trade-offs that you have in terms of security for, you know, their consensus algorithm and how they design their blockchain, which is really good, which is one of the reasons why we chose to work with Zilliqa overall. So, you know, I would definitely urge that if you are looking to build some sort of DeFi application, Zilliqa is a prime blockchain to be using because of how secure it is, and then because of the kind of connections and the fundamental design of it. It makes a lot of sense to have financial applications built on top of Zilliqa, right? It's something that it was literally built for. So that's a really important aspect, right? There's stable coins on Zilliqa as well to be utilized that you could build some sort of application around. And then there's DeFi, like protocols, like they have you know, their own version of Uniswap that they're building. They have the stable coins that you would need to go with it, and then they have staking, right? And they have the staking is native to the Zilliqa blockchain in and of itself, just kind of like ETH 2.0. But so this staking offers pretty high interest rates right now. And we've been exploring the idea of doing something like, you know, locking collateral into an NFT that then deposits that into the staking mechanism to yield farm the interest rates of staking, right, within an NFT that is then tradable. And so this is kind of what I was getting at how composability built DeFi is. You need to have this ability to be able to build all these different Legos and interact with different systems in order to build, you know, a decentralized finance. And so there's a lot of potential to be built in terms of interacting with DeFi and Zilliqa. And you know, with Ethereum, it's a hard market to get into. You have a lot of competition, and you have a few design mechanisms that you have to really build around to ensure a good user experience. Mainly, like the gas fee is a really easy one to, you know, understand. Like if your contracts are not designed well, then you have an exorbitant gas fee that users may or may not you know, interact with just because it's too much for them to do so with. But on that note, on Ethereum's note, we are Mintable, our platform. We're launching the Ethereum version here in a little bit less than 60 days. And so our 2.0 version will be live on Ethereum and Zilliqa. We'll be the first NFT marketplace with 2 different blockchains supported. And we consider ourselves kind of this next gen marketplace because we have these features that, you know, no other NFT marketplace has, but they're so common on every e-commerce platform that it just, you think about it and you're like, why is this not in the NFT space? And so we're providing this mix of cutting edge crypto with NFTs and traditional Web 2.0, where you have all the features of, you know, Amazon, eBay, Alibaba, right, Lazada. You have the features that everyone knows, everyone uses, and it's easy to understand, but we're mixing that in with NFTs. One of the things for the cutting edge aspect, I'll go over both, right? I'll do what cutting edge things are happening with NFTs and some traditional features that we'll be adding to mix these two together. For example, on Ethereum, because of gas prices, you cannot mint over 40 tokens at a time, right? About 40 to 50 is the limit of how many NFTs you can make in a single transaction, which is problematic because if you want to have a trading card game and you want to sell 10,000 tokens, you're going to have to submit, you know, like 2,000 transactions in order to do that. And if you have to pay, you know, $100 for every one of those transactions, that's huge. That's a huge cost. So what we've done is we've actually redesigned the NFT logic within a 721 standard to allow for up to 2,000 NFTs to be made within one transaction. So we went from 40 to 2,000. And the price of 2,000 is the same price that it is to make 40 right now, which is huge. And if you want to make 50, it's like $8, which is cheaper than it is to make one in the current logic, which is huge. And that's some cutting edge you know, design mechanisms that we built in to make this new type of core logic for the 721 standard on Ethereum. Another thing is, like, we're working on a DAO. So we're going to be making a DAO that you'll be able to use to govern Mintable. But one of the things about this DAO is it's kind of like DeFi, but at Mintable we don't want a token. We don't want an ERC20 token. You know, I don't believe in them, and it's just not something that we want to do. So when we came up with the idea of doing a DAO, you know, the first thing was like, oh, we can't do it because you know, we're never going to have a token. We're never going to have an ICO. And so I was thinking about it, and I realized, hey, we're an NFT platform. Why don't we make the world's first DAO that is ran completely by NFTs? There is no token. There's only NFTs that you're using for voting power, for distribution, for rights. And so that's what we built. And so this is another cutting edge feature that we're adding, is going to be the first DAO that only has NFTs to interact with. There is no native token. And there's a little bit of like liquidity mining, where anytime you make a transaction on Mintable, you're going to be given an NFT that represents, you know, some share of the DAO. And of course, with that NFT, you also get a share of how much money we generate. And then you can govern, you know, the direction that our company will take, and the direction of the design or the UX or the smart contract logic or future upgrades. And so between batch minting, a royalty standard, a DAO, you know, these are cutting edge features that you know, we don't have anywhere else. There's nowhere to make 2,000 tokens for NFTs on Ethereum anywhere, but it will be live here in about 60 days. There's no NFT DAOs, but we'll make the first one, and everything's going to be open source and public, so people can then, you know, go make their own version of this. And so some of the traditional things that we are adding to our marketplace are things that, you know, you have on Amazon and eBay and Lazada that you interact with every time you make a purchase on these platforms, right? So as I mentioned, there's advertising, so that if you're a seller, you can increase the conversion rate of selling those NFTs. And this is you know, really important, because as I mentioned, there's hundreds of thousands of NFTs. And so if you list one artwork, it kind of gets lost, right? On every other platform, it gets lost. There's no way for it to stand out in the crowd. In fact, most NFT sales are direct sales, where the creator or the person selling it has linked to you. They're giving you a link that goes directly to buy that item. You don't find it via, you know, browsing the website. You get linked to it. So by having advertising, you can increase the amount of items that you're selling, increase the exposure, and how many people are looking at your content. So like just a quick number, so Mintable launched about 2 months ago, right, on Zilliqa, and we have advertising on there. One of, not even the top advertiser, just one of the advertisers, they spent, they did a $50 campaign, right, really small amount, because their NFTs are going for thousands of dollars. So they put $50 in advertising, and within like 2 weeks, they had over 10,000 views on their one NFT, right, which is huge, which helps them get a lot more sales on all their different NFTs that they're promoting. Another thing that we're going to be adding is, you know, the ability to have messaging. So on every NFT platform right now, you cannot communicate with the person that's selling the NFT, which, when you think about it, that doesn't make sense, right? We should, if you're buying an item on an e-commerce platform, you can message, you know, the person selling it. So we built out a messaging, you know, platform within Mintable that you can have a conversation with who you're trying to interact with, which is also a really good way to increase conversions by building trust in the people that you're talking to and you're trying to sell your content to. Or if you're trying to buy something, you can verify that it's not a scam, right? You can verify that this person is the person who's supposed to be selling it, which is overall good for the ecosystem. And that's just a few of the kind of different features that we're adding, which makes us this next-gen marketplace for NFTs. So, you know, overall, NFTs are a really hot space right now, and it's only going to grow. And if you create content, whether that content is a video on YouTube or it's artwork that you like paint in your studio, or if it's an app that you're designing, you can tokenize that as an NFT and then sell that to make some serious money on the side. That, you know, it's passive income essentially. You put it for sale, and you wake up one day and you have, you know, 1,000 ZIL in your wallet. You have 100,000 ZIL in your wallet. You've just sold something for 10 ETH and it just appears, right? So overall, I think a lot of people look at NFTs kind of like they look at DeFi the first time that they hear about DeFi. Like, wait, 1,000% APY? Like, I don't know if I trust that. And, you know, I don't know if you should, to be honest. But they look at it very skeptically and they say, this is too good to be true. But then, you know, after it's been around for a while, you realize, like, man, I really should have interacted with these DeFi protocols earlier, or I should have bought some of these tokens, and you kind of miss out. The same thing with NFTs right now. A lot of people get wrapped up in things like, oh, what if I can right-click the image for artwork and I can save that NFT? Now I don't need to buy it, right? But that inherently just doesn't make any sense. That's like saying that if I take a photo of the Mona Lisa, then, you know, now I own the Mona Lisa. Or is take a photo of a baseball card, now I own that baseball card, right? It just doesn't work that way. But that's like the very first kind of interaction that people have with NFTs is they come up with, oh, okay, there's all these problems, you know, I'm skeptical about this. And then a few months later, they're like, wow, okay, this actually makes a lot of sense, right? NFTs have a huge potential use case. And so getting on early, starting to make some of your content as an NFT and understanding how NFTs work is really kind of important, because they're going to play a huge role in the ecosystem for crypto, either adopting, you know, adoption and bringing on new people into blockchain space, or they're going to be a huge potential revenue stream, blockchain and crypto users. So it's something that you should definitely pay attention to. One other thing that I do want to mention before you know, I end this is that if you are a developer and you are interested in NFTs, you know, for Zilliqa, we have all of our contracts that we're using in the standard. It's ZRC2, the non-fungible token standard, is all on the documentation we have for Mintable. So I encourage you to build a application using NFTs. I think it's really important that we have as many NFT applications as possible, because the space is new, and the more people we have building on it, the more ingenuity that we have in terms of, you know, discovering a new feature that most people haven't thought about, or a new type of game, or mixing DeFi into NFTs. It requires people to put time and effort and to explore and to understand, you know, really work the ins and outs of what an NFT is, how they can change and move around things within the smart contract to still be a functional NFT, but provide some extreme use case that most people haven't thought about. So I highly recommend that you, you know, get involved with NFTs in one way or another, either as a developer or as a content creator, or as a collector, right? There's a lot of people that made money selling NFTs. In fact, there's this guy on Twitter, and just a random guy, right? I don't even know this guy. I just saw him come across my Twitter feed. He sold an NFT last week for 75,000 Canadian dollars, right? And it's just a pixel image of a you know, it's a CryptoPunk. A CryptoPunk is a rare avatar that was released back in like 2017, and they're never going to be made again. So this is very rare, and they go about for 5 ETH. But this really rare one went for 75,000 Canadian dollars, which is huge. That's life-changing money, and you know, it's a collectible, right? It's a trading card. So there's a lot of money to be made in NFTs, and I think that it's something that everyone needs to be paying attention to right now, because you really don't want to miss out. So let's see if we have any questions. Elon Musk, developer from Amazon, he asked, how can one fractionalize ownership of NFTs? And fractionalizing ownership of NFTs is something interesting that has been recently happening. I think there's 2 marketplaces right now that do it, 2 exchanges. The way it works is you create a ERC20 that represents the ownership of that NFT, kind of similar to how a DAO works. So, you know, in a DAO, your ERC20 acts as, you know, ownership of whatever protocol is being governed over. So it's the same way in terms of NFTs. Say you have, you know, a CryptoKitty, and you put it up. They will then create a token, an ERC20 token that represents, maybe you'll have 100 of them, right? So there's 100 tokens. And if you own all 100 tokens, then, you know, you have complete ownership of that NFT. But by having, you're essentially wrapping a non-fungible token with fungible tokens. And by doing that, it allows for you to be able to then have an order book, to have sales, and be able to, invest in a share of a piece of, digital art or a rare item. So it's interesting, but right now it's very young and it's just getting started. Cool.
There's another question. So it's a follow-up to the question is, what about Ethereum 2.0? Won't that solve the problem with fees and TPS? Which he says then whenever it will happen, what will be the TPS and fees would be? But I think so that's not really related to you guys. You want to take it up, Zach, still?
I don't know the exact TPS because it's dependent on a few different variables. Vitalik actually just mentioned 100,000 TPS. Sometimes he's mentioned 10,000. It actually depends on the sharding ecosystem in and of itself and the shards that you're connected to. If everyone is connected to one shard, obviously, then the TPS is going to go down. So when we do have the ability to do 10,000 transactions in a second, then obviously, there's no issue. There's no issue with scaling. There's no issue with gas fees. Everything will be able to be done almost instantly, which is, obviously the goal. And in terms of NFTs and games, it's a very big aspect because then, I can use my crypto wallet and I can play World of Warcraft if I can do 10,000 transactions in a second, right? I can do everything out of my wallet, which is huge. And for NFTs, that means we're going to see a lot more games come on board and adopt NFTs into those ecosystems because they don't have to deal with the scalability issue that we're currently facing right now.
All right. Thank you, Zach. Anyone else has questions for him?
Cool.
All right. Perfect. Thank you, Zach, for sharing such wonderful insights with us. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of this meetup and learning about Zilliqa. I hope you all enjoyed. Please do join our forums and learn, keep updated about what's happening in this space, and keep interacting with other people. We will now be opening in for the networking session, so do stay back and interact with the speakers, and we'll also like to know you. Thanks a lot. Thank you.